All right. Let's just make sure that we are live. Let's make sure everything's good. All right, YouTube's coming awake. Twitter's already awake. Twitter's always first. What's up, YouTube? Rockfin, where are you? Once we know that Rockfin is live, we will officially begin. All right. Okay, we're good. All righty. What's up? I'll let people trickle in here. I am definitely at a random time. We usually do this at 11 Pacific, 2 Eastern. It is 43 minutes late. Sorry for that. There's no other reason other than just, well, I'll be honest. I lost track of time on the beach. That is the honest reason we are 43 minutes late today. Sometimes I go to the beach in the morning. I don't do it often, but every now and again. What's up, Phoenicia? How are you? Hope everything is awesome in the UK. But yeah, before we officially get started, I will explain my tardiness today. Usually this show is at 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific. We are 43 minutes late today. And the reason we are so late is because I straight up lost track of time on the beach. Sorry. I know that's bad. I mean, I'm sorry. But I honestly just I moved kind of recently. Some of y'all know that. I just moved down the street. I'm still in the San Pedro area. Yeah, my walk to the beach is a little further than it used to be. It's okay. I still got a nice view from the deck or whatever. But yeah, I lost track of time. That's the honest. I was thinking, I was like, should I tell them? I'm like, I'll be honest. I'll just be honest. I lost. The world is falling apart. And what I like to do to unwind and to just resurface and to just or refocus, not resurface, but to just kind of chill out. I love going to the beach. It's my favorite thing in the world. And I went this morning. I usually don't go in the morning. I usually go in the afternoon, but I have a couple things going on today. So I need to be there in the morning. And I just straight up lost track of time. And I'm sorry, but we're here now. So thank you. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, good tomorrow. Hope everyone is doing well. Welcome to Get Your News On with Ron. This is the headline show where I go through the headlines of the week, and we have a lot to talk about this week. First of all, Joe Biden's climate plan, quote unquote climate plan. He is supposed to do some executive actions, but he did not declare a state of emergency. And also, this is breaking news. I saw the headline this morning. Apparently, he tested positive for COVID-19. Don't know anything about that other than he tested positive. We're going to be talking about the climate plan here. Also, some new findings reveal just how hard Labor wanted to screw over Jeremy Corbyn. And this is kind of crazy. I'm not, obviously, I'm not an expert in UK politics. I don't pretend to be. But man, this is an interesting case study. They did this new investigation into Labor, and it's interesting. We're going to be going through some of it. It's amazing exactly how hard they tried to screw that guy over. Also, a new net neutrality bill is out there. There's a new net neutrality bill, and we're going to be talking about it and the effects of it. And then what else? Also, apparently we got the votes for antitrust summer. So we're going to have a digital rights update for antitrust summer and for net neutrality. And this just shows how much corporate America hates you, folks. Companies are just straight up closing. They're straight up taking their ball and going home. And we're going to look into something involving Amy's Kitchen and Starbucks. But first things first, let's start with Joe Biden's climate plan, ? So here we go. This is from The Guardian. Biden unveils extreme heat plan, but doesn't declare climate emergency. Initiatives are aimed at helping salvage the president's tattered climate agenda after Joe Manchin, the all-powerful Joe Manchin, delivered a major blow last week. So, facing the disintegration of his climate agenda as ferocious heat waves hit large parts of the world, Joe Biden has unveiled a new plan to push billions of dollars to U.S. cities and states to help them cope with extreme heat. The president stopped short of declaring a climate emergency. Because, why rush? Why rush? I mean, Joe Biden's climate plan was we might do something by 2050, which means I'm just going to let someone else deal with it. Whenever someone says 2050, that means I'm kicking the can down the road. It's someone else's problem. And that's Joe Biden's climate plan. And in the meantime, he promised no new drilling on federal lands. He has already broken that promise. He's already broken that promise as my face hits the microphone. Biden outlined the new actions in a speech at a former coal plant in Massachusetts. Okay, that's cool. It's now a wind farm project. That's cool. So here's what he had to say. As president, I have a responsibility to act with urgency and resolve when our nation faces clear and present danger. And that's what climate change is all about. That's true. It's literally, not figuratively, a clear and present danger. That's true. The health of our citizens and our communities is literally at stake. Okay, so what is he going to do? Here's what he's going to do, folks. Biden's actions include $2.3 billion in funding to help communities prepare for heat waves, droughts, and floods, and new guidance that allows the federal government to help provide cooling centers and air conditioning, and new planned offshore wind energy leases for the Gulf of Mexico coast. So basically, it sounds like most of the money is just going towards adaptation. So $2.3 billion is going into preparing for the heat waves, more air conditioning, more cooling, which of course, I get that in the short term that is necessary. And by the way, air conditioning, not great for the environment, but I get that it's necessary for people facing extreme heat. I get that. I understand that. But it seems like this is pretty much all adaptation. A little bit of wind energy and just adaptation. That seems to be his plan. That is not enough, folks. That is way too. I mean, first of all, that's self-defeatist as hell. Is there an element of adaptation that needs to be part of all this? Yes. Because the climate has already changed. It's already changing. It's happening. We're going to see some significant changes in our lifetime. And part of it will just require adaptation. Yeah. We're going to have to find new ways to utilize land for food. We're going to have to find new ways to have transportation. We have to get off of fossil fuels entirely. And by the way, I don't see any of that in his $2.3 billion plan. It's preparing for heat waves, preparing for extreme weather, not doing more to prevent things from getting worse. And they kind of bring that up later. Biden must declare a climate emergency, ban crude oil exports, and halt new fossil fuel infrastructure. That's what he's not willing to do, including pipelines and export terminals, said Noah Hodder, I'm sure I'm mispronouncing that, executive director of Food and Water Watch. The clock is rapidly ticking towards inevitable, irreversible climate catastrophe. There is no more time left to lose. And the president's response, we're going to get more air conditioning. Don't worry, air conditioning is on the way. So, again, what's the climate plan? Not enough. Way too little. A couple gestural things so it makes it seem like you're doing something in the short term, because I get it. People facing extreme heat. I don't want somebody, especially somebody who's housing insecure in Arizona, to not be able to go to a cooling center. Of course, I want them to be able to do that. And of course, building those are good things. But this is not a climate plan. This is just disaster control. This is just plugging the holes in the Titanic with a towel. That's what this is. So, man, and this is anything but surprising. And now who knows what's going to happen with Biden's health is now in serious question. Kamala Harris could end up becoming president soon, which is exactly what the DNC wanted all along. Kamala Harris is their darling. That's exactly what they wanted. And they might get it. She might be president. She'll probably lose to whoever the GOP candidate is in 2024. That's likely what will happen. Joe Biden, there's a good chance he'd lose too. So that's his climate plan. Air conditioning. Air conditioning, a little bit of wind. Here's what we need to do. We need to get off of fossil fuels. There is no, I mean, there's nothing. It is an emergency, so should be declared a state of emergency, and we need to get off fossil fuels, and we need to list a finish line. We need to say, I mean, I would prefer 2025. Everyone's saying 2030. All right, so 2030. Let's go with 2030. We need to say by 2030, we're done. It's over. No more. It is done. Why do you need to be that deliberate and that final? Well, A, because the planet depends on it. But B, because here's what's going on. Okay. Wall Street, who really runs this country. Let's be honest. A handful of financial institutions, Wall Street, They run this country. They finance the war machine. They profit off the war machine. They profit off of healthcare. They profit off of prisons. They profit off of education. And they really run this place. And that's why we have a horrible quality of life here in the United States. And we pillage and destroy the rest of the world for their bottom line. They, as evil as they are, still want a planet to live on. They can't all go to Mars, and they know that. They can't all go. So they want a planet to live on too. But here's the deal. None of them want to let go of their short-term gains. So even though they're investing in things beyond fossil fuels, they're trying to stop investing in fossil fuels because they know that it's going to be over. They don't want to lose those short-term gains that the oil and gas companies give them. So we need a top-bottom solution where it says, okay, you don't have to worry about those gains anymore because it's over. You put a finish line, now all of a sudden they're scrambling to see who can get into the best renewables quickest. And things will change really fast. You'll be able to take a plane without fossil fuels real quick. You'll be able to take a train without fossil fuels real quick. More people will have fully electric cars with more efficient batteries real quick. There'll be more efficient public transportation real quick. People say that we can't do this. There are people who say I'm crazy when I bring up this stuff. There's 11 alternatives they're already developing. It's just none of them are getting the proper funding they need. 11 alternatives. You can guarantee to me that all 11 alternatives won't work? How do you know? How do you know? What gives you that authority? You think we've peaked at fossil fuels? You really think humanity's peaked? Based on what? What evidence do you have indicating that is a case? Or do you have none and you just want to sound like a cool contrarian edgelord on Twitter? And you sound so cool and edgy and contrarian, calling the guy crazy who's saying we need to get off of fossil fuels and it's time to look into true alternatives for the sake of this planet. So that's what needs to be done. Biden's solution, though, air conditioning. So USA, we're crushing it once again. We're freaking crushing it. All right, let's go to the next story, which is the Jeremy Corbyn thing. This is so interesting to me. Now, I know some of you are out in the UK, so you are probably more hip to UK politics than me, obviously. But man, so they did an investigation, and here's what they found. So check this out. Anti-Corbyn Labour officials covertly diverted election funds away from winnable seats, Ford report finds. Oh, so as you guys know, of course, Jeremy Corbyn was basically the Bernie Sanders of the UK. And Labour really shit the bed, and he ended up losing the majority. And here's some stuff that went on behind the scenes. Anti-Corbyn Labour officials secretly diverted 2017 election resources to candidates hostile to the leadership and away from winnable seats. A party inquiry has found. The long-awaited Ford report, which has been seen in full by the Independent, and that's what this article is from, the Independent, says senior staff hostile to Jeremy Corbyn set up a parallel operation to covertly divert money and personnel to their favored candidates. The report, commissioned by Keir Starmer in the early days of his leadership, found that a toxic atmosphere prevailed in Labour HQ, with staff communicating via WhatsApp echo chambers, which amplified hostility and allowed the boundaries of acceptable conduct to be blurred. Okay, what does that mean in basic terms? They literally took money away from candidates in winnable districts to help them lose. So they basically lost seats on purpose, more or less, to prevent Corbyn from having a majority. They sabotaged their own party to prevent him from being leader and from having leadership, a leadership in the majority. That's how much. And by the way, I was having a conversation with a friend of mine about this, and he said, dude, that's what they did to Jeremy Corbyn, and he's a member of their party. Jeremy Corbyn is actually a member of the Labour Party. So, man, I guess it makes sense how hard they screw over Bernie because Bernie is technically not a Democrat. The Democratic establishment will remind you that Bernie is technically not a Democrat when it's convenient for them, but all of a sudden, he's a Democrat when they want his email list. We all remember that. This is how hard Labor screwed over Jeremy Corbyn. And Jeremy Corbyn is a member of their party. And they smeared him. They accused him of anti-Semitism, which of course was absolute nonsense. He's not an anti-Semite. He just thinks that Palestinians are human beings. That has nothing to do with anti-Semitism. Criticizing the brutal actions of the right-wing Israeli government is not anti-Semitism. Just like you can be in America and criticize the actions of your government. Same thing there. And by the way, there's plenty of people in Israel who are also against what their government is doing and are also for Palestinian rights. Just like there are people in America who are against what their government's doing in the Middle East, who is against what their government's doing around the world. I'm one of them. I'm one of those Americans. I despise my government. I love my neighborhood, despise my government. Always have. Always have. But that's how hard they were willing to lose on purpose to avoid. And by the way, this is the Labour Party in the UK, which the Labour Party in the UK, despite all their problems with corruption, which clearly there's a lot, they're still way more transparent and actually grassroots compared to the Democrats in the United States. Again, I'm not saying they're perfect. They're not. Clearly, this shows it. But they are a million times better than the Democrats in the United States. The Tories, for crying out loud, are to the left of the Democrats in the United States. The Tories. And the Tories are absolutely terrible. They are terrible. But they, at least when it comes to healthcare, they're to the left of the Democratic Party in the United States. And they're right wing. That's just how right. I mean, people say, oh, the Democrats would be considered a center-right party anywhere else in the world. That's being too generous. They'd be considered a right-wing party anywhere else in the world, not center-right. They'd be considered right-wing. Center-right parties in other countries still think everyone should have health care. And again, I'm not saying, I mean, I know people give me a hard time. They say that I'm too easy on the EU and I'm too easy on other places, England and stuff like that. I'm probably guilty of that because I don't live in those places. So, I go there when I'm just doing shows or I'm on vacation. So, of course, it's rosy, right? I get it. I'm probably guilty of that. But, yeah, still, it's accurate to point out that the Democrats would be a right-wing party anywhere else in the world. If the Democrats were in England, they'd be on par with the Tories, if not to the right of the Tories. The Republicans would be like, holy shit. The Republicans are literally a neo-fascist party. The Democrats are neoliberals. Neoliberalism leads to neo-fascism 100% of the time. And we are stuck in a ping pong volley of neoliberal to neo-fascist. We're the frickin' ball getting batted around. And here's the problem, folks. They don't want to stop the volley. So Labor lost on purpose just to screw Jeremy Corbyn over that hard. Man, that's similar to what we do here in the U.S. That's similar. All right, we're going to end with digital rights. We're going to go to labor now. I guess that makes sense since we were talking about the Labor Party, which really isn't all that great at being for labor, as we discussed here. But here's something. So this is how much the corporate state really hates you, folks. They hate you so much that they're willing to just take their ball and go home if it means they would have to treat you with respect and dignity and give you a living wage. Here's what Amy's Kitchen is doing. Now, we reported on Amy's Kitchen a few months back. It turns out they have horrible labor practices. They pretend like they're some socially conscious environmental company. They're not. They exploit labor. And, I got a good deal on their lentil soup a while back before I knew any of this. I will still eat that lentil soup because you can't, I think wasting food is wrong. but I will not patronize them in the future. This is from More Perfect Union. Amy's Kitchen is closing its San Jose factory where workers have been in the process of unionizing. Union here filed multiple charges against Amy's in June for union busting and firing organizing workers. Amy's sent this letter Monday, firing all 300 workers at the plant. So they're literally closing a factory instead of letting workers unionize. They're closing a factory. 300 workers, done. Howard Schultz and Starbucks, they are closing stores all around the country. They say it's because of, quote, safety, but we all know it's because people are trying to unionize. Howard Schultz would rather burn his brand to the ground the same way he burns coffee beans than treat workers with respect and dignity and give them decent wages, give them fair time off, give them health care. He'd rather just close. So would Amy's Kitchen. And why? Well, because all the policies benefit them. They can just take their ball and go home because they're the people really running the show. They got elected officials in their back pocket and they know it. So they'll just get more tax breaks and they'll be able to keep exploiting people. And if they can't exploit people as hard as they want to, they'll take their ball and go home. That's the American way. You are seen as an instrument to exploit. That's why they're so against abortion now. They're so against abortion, not because they care about the unborn. It's because they want more people to exploit once you're here. We want you to be born because guess what? You might have a future in the military, or you might have a future as a worker we can exploit. And either way, we'll make money off of you. We'll make money off of your health. We'll make money off of your education. We'll make money off of throwing you in prison. Because that's what we do here. That's what Amy's wants to do. That's what Starbucks wants to do. That's what Darden Restaurants Group wants to do. It's just a cast of rotating villains. You know why? Because they all do the same shit. Because the government and the corporation are married. Gee, Mussolini gave us the word for that a long time ago. It's called fascism. And that is where we're at. So Amy's Kitchen, they'd rather just close. I mean, it's just right out in the open now. They're not even trying to hide it, which is the most amazing part. They're not even trying to hide it. And here's something I'm not trying to hide, folks. Digital rights issues. All right, so let's end on something a little more I guess, dare I say, a little more uplifting. And by the way, to learn more about that and a lot of other labor issues, go to More Perfect Union. They're a great resource. I lean on them a lot. That was what that tweet I was reading was from as well, More Perfect Union. So check this out. There's something floating around in Congress right now. There's a new bill. Democrats plan new legislation to establish net neutrality rules. Two Democratic senators are planning to reopen a high-stakes battle over internet access in the coming weeks. There's a draft bill from Ed Markey and Ron Wyden that would explicitly classify high-speed internet as a telecommunications service, according to two people familiar with the matter. The Senate legislation will likely be introduced before Congress breaks for summer recess. We need to make sure that frickin' happens. So basically, this is a two-page bill that just puts net neutrality back. Now, we have net neutrality in some states. Where I live in California, we have net neutrality. That's why you haven't seen the effects of a post-net neutrality world yet, because some states have it, so it's really hard for internet service providers to unroll anti-net neutrality packages, because some states have it. This puts it back federally. Now, keep in mind, this is coming at a time where the FCC is still in a 2-2 gridlock. Record amount of time, folks. Joe Biden still has not appointed Gigi Sohn to the FCC. And by the way, this is also on the Senate. They gotta approve it. He promised a pro-net neutrality FCC member. He did keep that promise. He appointed Gigi Sohn, a very qualified member to the FCC. She still has not been approved. It has been a record amount of time. She still has not been approved. So the FCC is in a 2-2 gridlock. 2 pro-net neutrality, 2 anti-net neutrality. So nothing's getting done. So this bill just basically puts net neutrality back. It says, hey, the internet is a Title II classification. It's a utility in our lives. To my knowledge, from what I've heard, the bill is just 2 pages. It's a 2-page bill. that just says net neutrality. We're putting it back. It's a little longer than that because that's not 2 pages. That's a sentence, but you get the idea. And what can you do? Go to battleforthenet.com, fightforthefuture.org, and let your elected officials know you want this bill passed now. Let them know you want the net neutrality bill passed now. They're saying that they're going to see a vote on it before the summer recess. We need to make sure that happens. And here's another thing that we need to make sure happens before the summer recess. Because here's the thing. After the summer recess, which is in August, they're going to come back, they being Republicans and Democrats, and they're going to be in election mode. They're going to be in midterm mode, baby. They got to focus on the midterms. We can't focus on anything else. So any bills that you wanted to see be passed into law are just going to fall by the wayside. And they would love for that to happen. They would love to not have to move on net neutrality. They would love to not have to move on antitrust, which we're going to talk about now. Don't let them. But folks, in closing, here is an update on antitrust summer. Here's an update from Fight for the Future. Senator Chuck Grassley of Iowa, not Illinois, Iowa, misspoke there. Chuck Grassley of Iowa, who is a Republican, just said on the record that he has assured Chuck Schumer that there are enough GOP votes to pass a COA, the antitrust bill that would rein in big tech monopolies like Facebook, Google, and Amazon. It's time to put big tech up for a vote. Antitrustsummer.com. We've been reporting on this for weeks. Full disclaimer, I've been collaborating with Fight for the Future on this campaign. There are 2 antitrust bills right now. According to Reuters, they have the votes to pass. According to Amy Klobuchar, they have the votes to pass. According to Chuck Grassley, they have the votes to pass, or at least one of them does. A COA does. And according to Chuck Schumer, he supports these bills, but he's not moving on them. Why? Well, because Chuck Schumer has a daughter who works for Amazon, and he has another daughter who works for Meta, which is Facebook, and he gets a ton of money from big tech. But he knows these bills are extremely popular. But what would he love? He would love to just not act on this, come back from recess and say, gee, shucks, we got to focus on the midterms now. Sorry, we didn't get to it. Don't let him do that. Go to antitrustsummer.com, sign, scream. We got to fight back. We got to flood them, demanding action be taken on these bills. There are video billboards going around Chuck Schumer's residencies demanding he act on this. It's playing the John Oliver clip on antitrust over and over again, demanding he bring it to a vote. We need to be loud. We need to act, and the time is now. Antitrustsummer.com. We've been covering it for over a month now. We're going to continue. We're not going to stop. Antitrustsummer.com. So battleforthenet.com, antitrustsummer.com. Please sign both if you have not already. We got to fight back, folks. We got to fight back every way that we can. We got to fight back for policy. We got to fight back for causes we believe in. We got to fight back by taking back our neighborhoods, which, by the way, I got a tomato plant. I got a tomato plant, everybody. And I'm nervous I'm going to fuck it up. I'm very nervous. I think I mentioned this to you guys that one of my neighbors is a landscaper who also consults on community gardens. Like, that's what he does for a job. And the other night I told him I got one of these, my wife got one of those things where like you grow it. It's, I forget the official name for them. I guess I could just run in my kitchen and grab it. I haven't started it yet, but it's like mini tomatoes and everything comes in a bag. I don't know if you guys have ever seen this before. It's really interesting, but you buy this bag and all the soil's in there and all the seeds are in there and you just follow their instructions and then you grow it in the bag. You like it's like this little like compostable, like it looks like paper, like a paper bag kind of, but it's a little thicker, and you grow tomatoes in that. I told my neighbor about this, the landscaper guy, and he's like, hey man, I got another plant for you to help get you started as well. So I have the grow bag. It's not the official name for him, but I have that, and I have a vine that I'm gonna start. And I promise you guys that I would be keeping track. I would be sharing my progress, which I'm gonna do. So I got 2 different types of tomatoes that I'm gonna start soon. Leah says everyone should grow their own food if able. I agree. I'm going to start to try to grow mine. And you know what else I'm going to do? I'm going to support my local farmers, because if you can't grow your own food, or if you can only grow so much because you have very limited space, I really did not have the option to grow food until recently. The reason I'm able to now is because I have a deck now. I have like a deck, and with a very cool view. I know I posted photos of my view. I do love it very much. I like to go out there and write, but because I have a deck, I'm able to grow food now. Anyway, so I will keep you all posted on that. So grow food, support your local farmers, support your community. Go to battleforthenet.com, go to antitrustsummer.com, please. And also, before we sign out here, tour dates, I got them. Portland, Seattle, Vancouver, Graham Elwood and myself are coming next week. Get your tickets now. Don't wait. Grab your tickets. Next week, we're coming. July 28th, Portland, Oregon. July 29th, Seattle, Washington. July 30th, Vancouver, British Columbia. Can't wait to see you again, Canada. You can get tickets at romplacone.com. Grab them now. Do not wait. They're more expensive at the door, so get them now. romplacone.com. Portland, Seattle, Vancouver. See you next week. Next Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Can't wait to see you. Also, let me go to the chat real quick because I have some info here. Dr. Orient, thank you very much. Over on the Rockfin, thank you very much for the compliment there. Roger, what's up? Hey, Ron, has Kit or Sab gave you Angela's phone number? They have not. Also, regarding the best way to, they haven't. Feel free to tell them to do that because, I would like to cover that on the show. Also, regarding the best way to combat climate change, that is the elephant in the room, is nuclear. 93% energy output as opposed to 25 to 35% compared to wind solar. Over 90% of energy in nuclear waste is unused but can be recycled. Yet we have not found an environmentally and cost-effective way to dispose or recycle, so their waste buildup is higher than nuclear waste. So the landfills where, so they fill landfills where in the degradation process, all of these toxic chemicals runs off into the soil, eventually seeping into our drinking water. Nuclear is reliable and constant, unlike depending on weather conditions. Solar creates 300 times more heavily toxic waste per unit of energy than nuclear power plants. It gives us energy independence and security. Also, the burning of fossil fuels is used in the production of solar plants, but zero with nuclear. Here's the way to do it, though. Corporations must not be allowed to own and operate. They must be either nationalized, state institutionalized, or municipalized. At best, owned by the government and operated by a utility co-op at least. Okay. Thank you for that. That's a lot. Thank you, Roger. I appreciate it very much. I'm still learning about nuclear. I'm not an expert in it. I have covered it on the show a little bit where I've talked to other people who are enthusiasts about it like you are. I've heard some people say like it's definitely the way. Some people say it's not. I personally am still learning on it, so I don't have a definitive take one way or another yet. But thank you for sharing that information, and I will look more into it. So thank you for your thoughts on that. Roger, you're back. Thank you so much for your generosity. You help keep the show on the air. Thank you so much. And you say the same thing happened with Chipotle. Also, Hail Hearty Soups and Sandwiches closed all of its locations here on Long Island in New York City, and no one knows why. I'm currently trying to get state lawmakers on board for creating a state agency called the Cooperative Business Administration that would help co-ops of all types grow from scratch and convert regular businesses to co-ops and proliferate across the state. That sounds awesome, man. Good luck with that. And thank you for doing that. That's fantastic. And yeah, they all do it. I mean, that's why I'm all about voting with your dollar or acting with your dollar and being as responsible of a consumer as you can. I'm all for that. But, when they just highlight the latest villain and someone's like, oh, well, I'm not going to go to Red Lobster anymore. I'm going to go to Chipotle, or I'm not going to go to Starbucks anymore. But here I am going to what's another coffee chain? I don't know, Barnes and Noble. Well, Barnes and Noble's not really. What is another one that's comparable to Starbucks? I guess there really isn't one. I was going to say Tim Hortons, but I think they might have gotten. I think they might have been bought out. I don't even know. I have no idea, but you get the idea. I'm not going to go to Starbucks, but I'm going to go into Target or whatever. They all do the same stuff. They all do the exact same stuff. They're all terrible. I mean, yeah, are some a little bit better than the majority? Yeah, I would say something like Costco is better than most corporations. Costco is better than, say, Walmart. So, yeah, if you can support Costco over Walmart, that's better. Is it great? No, but it is better. So, yeah, there are some big corporations that have a little more accountability than others. Sure, a little bit more. But overall, it's the same freaking shit. And there's always going to be another villain. There's always going to be another Amy's Kitchen. There's always going to be another Starbucks. There's always going to be another Darden restaurants. So it's like, yeah, use your dollar the best you can, but realize there's no ethical consumption under capitalism. Just because Mark Zuckerberg's a horrible human being doesn't mean Jeff Bezos isn't. They're both terrible. And you don't have to pick one. You don't have to pick a plutocrat. The best way you can act with your dollar isn't picking the lesser corporation. It's the lesser evil corporation. It's freaking going local, supporting local the absolute best you can. And also coming to the realization, yeah, there is no ethical consumption under capitalism. So I'm just going to do the absolute best I can. Anyway, so that's my take there. Thank you, Roger, for your thoughts. And thank you for bringing up all that. And yeah, I mean, again, I don't know exactly what the change is going to look like, but I know we need to have a drastic status quo shifting change. And I know that it is attainable. I know that right now, like there's still a lot more R&D that needs to be done. There's still a lot more development that needs to be done. But we have every reason to believe that as a society, we will certainly get there. As a society, when you have 11 alternatives that get us off of fossil fuel entirely in time, one or more of them is going to work. And we're going to find a way to do it efficiently. And you say, well, the batteries take this and the batteries take that. Yeah, because we're still working. I mean, think about what a car started as versus what it is now. Think about what a plane started as versus what it is now. The first plane flew a couple feet and then was done. And I'm sure back then there were tons of people who were like, well, I guess we're just never going to fly. I mean, what good is flying a couple feet? Guess what? We developed the plane. There were people back in the day who said, we're never going to have a horseless buggy. Guess what? We do. There's people now. Hey, hell, there's people who said the wheel wasn't going to work. I'm sure back then there were people who were like, well, my feet don't look like a wheel. This will never work. Guess what? It did. There are people now who are saying we're never going to be able to get off of fossil fuels. And they're wrong. Just like the people generations before them were wrong. They're wrong too. We can move beyond fossil fuels. And if we choose not to, all right, well, then we're going to go extinct. I'd rather choose the latter. Unfortunately, it's not up to me. We need a top-bottom solution, unfortunately. Now, that doesn't say do all you can as an individual. Recycle, compost, do the absolute best you can as an individual, because that helps. But we still need a top-bottom solution. Are you recycling is going to be a small drop in the bucket at best if we don't have a top-bottom solution. Anyway, all right, you get the idea. So, guys, thank you so much for being here. RonPlacone.com for tour dates. Again, that's Portland, Seattle, Vancouver next week. And that's with Graham Elwood. Those are co-headlining shows. And those are going to be my last tour dates of 2022. I won't be, unless something crazy happens between now and then. Those are going to be my last tour dates of 2022. So please come out. I would love to see you. I won't be touring more until 2023. And then I have a couple of new projects to announce too, by the way. But I won't be touring again until 2023. So come on out, Portland, Seattle, Vancouver. Can't wait to see you. RonPlacone.com for tickets. Again, that is July 28th through July 30th. And if you want to support this show on the sustainability end, patreon.com/RonPlacone. For Give What You Can level, you get all kinds of perks. You get a patron stream once a week. There's a new perk I'm unveiling soon. I will make you a theme song if you want a theme song. And you can watch my mini pilot loaner. It hasn't been dropped to the public yet, but patrons and Rockfin Premium members can see it now. Patreon.com/RonPlacone. You can get all that for as low as $1 a month. Come on, $1 a month. Would you miss $1 a month? You wouldn't? patreon.com/Rob There you go. Guys, thanks so much for being here. Thank you again to Roger for your Rockfin tips. You help keep this show on the air. And you also say, yes, support mom and pop shops, but also support cooperative business. Absolutely. Co-ops are definitely the way, and we need to grow that movement big time. An excellent resource on that, of course, is Richard Wolff. I'm sure most of you probably know Richard Wolff already, if not all of you. But yeah, he does a lot on co-ops, and he's a brilliant guy. Economic Update, fantastic podcast. Thank you very much, Roger, for all of your generosity and your thoughts today. Very much appreciate it. Thank you, all of you, for being here. We will be back next week. And in the meantime, you know the drill. Lucy, she says meow. I say peace, love, and a general strike.